To rent or not to rent? To not rent? To not to rent? Hello YouTube, my name is Matt Spa, and I am a photographer, videographer, and vintage BMW motorcycle enthusiast in Atlanta, Georgia. The purpose of today's video is to talk about some of the pros and cons of renting camera equipment. Last week, I was hired to produce a trailer for a theatrical production that a local theater company is putting on here in Atlanta, Georgia. The production is very, very physical in nature, and I wanted something that would really kind of show off that physicality. I wanted to shoot with a fast, wide lens so that I could get the sets, but also get some distortion in the characters as they moved in and out of the scenes. I did not have a wide lens. As some of you know, I transferred last year from Canon to Sony, which was a good move for me, a little bit frustrating at times, but a good move. The problem is, I had 30 years to buy all that Canon gear, and now none of it was really working for me. My strobes were no longer any good because they were Canon proprietary. My transmitters and receivers were no good. And even though I tried a number of adapters with my Canon glass, I was never happy with it. It just didn't feel right, and it didn't perform the way I felt like it should. Right now I'm shooting with the Tamron 28-75. It's native. It's awesome. If you're on the fence or even thinking about buying that lens, I would say get off the fence and go buy that lens. It has served me extremely well so far. But I digress. What I needed was something wide. I had three options. I could go buy something, which for me would entail lots and lots of research and money. I could borrow something from a friend that shoots Sony, if I had any friends that shot Sony and had fast wide lenses, which I don't, or I could rent something. In the past, I have rented equipment, but there've always been some hurdles to it, and that's kind of what I want to talk about in this video. The hurdles that I've experienced, how I got over those hurdles, and the fact that there's an extra added benefit to renting equipment. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and way back in days of yore, there were stores that sold photographic equipment and video equipment and lenses and high-end bodies, and there was a bunch of people there that were really good at their job, and they knew what they were talking about, and you could go get advice, and oftentimes you could borrow equipment. Renting things was really simple. You just slapped your credit card down, somebody would show you how to use it, and you'd be on your way. Those days are gone, unfortunately. Showcase, I miss you dearly. To all my friends that used to work there, it was a fine time. That said, what we have now are a number of internet retailers that will rent equipment. I had tried a couple of times to go through that process when I thought I needed something. Hurdle number one was it was incredibly complicated to set up an account with most of these people. They wanted your firstborn and a retina scan and a DNA sample, and it just seemed like an insurmountable hurdle. So I would start the process and always bail out on it. For this job, though, I needed a wide lens. So I persevered, and I have to say, the process is not nearly as bad as I had made it out in my mind. I did have to submit a copy of a credit card and a copy of my driver's license and some other information from them. But I'm walking out of there with a $2,000 lens, or in this case, a $1,200 lens. It makes sense. I'm fortunate, I am in Atlanta, and we do have two, at least, local retailers that rent equipment. So I'm able to go pick up my stuff. And that was my second hurdle. I was always freaked out about them shipping me something. If I were to get something from some rental company somewhere, I just knew something was going to happen to it in shipping, and I was going to get blamed for it, and I'd end up with a broken lens that I had to pay them for. I think they've got that stuff figured out now, and if they don't, I'm willing to roll the dice at this point. I am fortunate because I'm in Atlanta, I can go pick my stuff up. So I don't have to deal with the shipping. It kind of takes that out of the equation for me. But if my local guys didn't have something, I think I would have no problems whatsoever with going with a company like Borrow Lenses or something like that and actually having stuff shipped to me. So those were kind of my two main hurdles. There was a little bit of a hurdle for me with cost, but in this case, I had a job. I was not going to charge any less for my services, but I was going to additionally bill for the rental. So what I got was this. And this is a, let's see if that's going to show up there. There it is. This is a Sony Zeiss lens. It's the f4 16-35, and I don't want to get into a lens review, but this lens is awesome. I paid $93 to get this for 7 days, and that included insurance. There's obviously no shipping in there. So I charged my client an extra 93 bucks, actually 100. And what I was able to do was get footage that I could not have gotten otherwise with the equipment that I currently owned. So huge benefit number one, I got the shot. There you go. That's kind of the bottom line to all this. But benefit number two was that I got a chance to play with this. I had it for the week, so I shot some early morning time lapses of the sun coming up over a building for another customer. I shot some pictures of my cat. I did a nice tour of the garden for my wife, for posterity. So I was able to use this in a lot of different circumstances and instances, really get a feel for how it would perform for me and my style of shooting. That alone would be enough for me to go rent it. But the big bonus, and what I kind of realized as I got further and further down the week with this thing, was that I wasn't invested in this. So I'm obviously going to buy a fast wide lens at some point. It's something that I would use with some regularity. If I were to go buy one, my option number one, I'm going to go plop down my money or punch in my credit card number and have that lens sent to me. But there's a huge difference in that lens and this lens. That lens I'm invested in. I have spent time, I have spent energy, I have spent money to get that lens to me. And maybe it's stupid pride, but I think because of that, I'm going to be more likely to love that lens and talk about how great it is, and probably more likely to overlook shortcomings and maybe workflow issues with it because of that investment. This thing, I can gripe about it. I can find everything I don't like. If I don't like how smooth the focus ring is, or how big the zoom ring is, or the sharpness to the corners, whatever. I'm not invested. I don't even have any money in this. My customer paid for it. So I have this opportunity to really be completely objective. And that's takeaway. That's the pro number 3 that I was talking about at the beginning of this video. When you rent something, you're not invested. You can really be genuinely objective. So I think given this experience, I will probably be much more likely to, before I buy any new piece of gear, hopefully get a job and be able to bill it to. But if I don't, I'll spend the money to go rent one. I got this from Aperture Rent, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. They were fantastic. They're not paying me to say anything nice about them, but they were really nice. And so I'm happy to say nice things about them. So that's kind of my 2 cents about my lens rental experience. I hope that it's been informative and or entertaining. If so, give me a like and a share and a thumbs up and ring my bell and tell 2 friends and all that kind of stuff. If you didn't, or if you have horror stories, or if you have companies that you just absolutely love to rent from, drop them in the comments below. This is about helping you, but helping me, helping anybody who might happen to run across this video and need some information. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.